Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren Brunswick. If you are watching this intro on YouTube, sorry about the weird background, but I am about 10 minutes away from leaving for Italy, and I had to deconstruct my podcast studio because my mom is watching the kids, and then literally I was like, oh shoot, I need one more recording. So here I am with a slightly different background. It's not bad. And all of my people listening on Spotify and Apple are like, didn't need to know, don't care. Well, it's not always about you, okay? All right, so today we have on Haley Westfall, and she is a community building expert. Now, the reason that we're talking about this is kind of twofold. So some of you are here for the personal brandy stuff, and that's fantastic. You may be thinking about starting a low-cost membership, or maybe it's a high-cost membership, thinking like the $27 a month, $47, $97, whatever it is. And you're going to get a ton out of this. Now, some of you are like, yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm a clinic owner. I have a brick and mortar. Is this going to help me? Yes. Yay. The opposite of nay. It is going to help you because we do really talk about how much we as small business owners living in a world where people are just so busy. They are so busy, and we are just trying to get our message in front of them. And how can we do that in this meaningful way that doesn't feel salesy, that really feels like we are coming not from a place of wanting more new patients, but truly wanting to serve. So whether you're here for this or that or both, this was a very eye-opening conversation to me about how much effort truly goes into crafting an experience for people that is worthy of their time, their money, and time is really becoming even so much more a thing for people, right? So, one quick update. You have time. If you are listening to this before October 28th, you are in a small group of people that has time to still join our 3-day bootcamp, Grow Your Following. Now, if you are one of the people who's been watching that and I go like, well, would you like an extra 1,000 followers? And you're like, yeah, that'd be great. But you haven't registered for Grow Your Following yet. It's probably because you think that you're not advanced enough in the process to even be thinking about a personal brand or growing. You're kind of like opting out, saying that's not for me. But what you need to understand is that phase one of the long multi-year process of growing a brand is just truly starting to think about what are you putting out there and who are you speaking to? It's not even figuring out it. It's just starting to think about using social media with a little attention. That's phase one. And if that seems like something you could get on board with, you should totally register for Grow Your Following because it's awesome. And I am going to teach my freaking ass off in it. You are going to every single time that I'm going in and working on the slides, I'm just going I want them to walk away with 7 pages of notes just from this day. So I want your mind to be blown with so much online strategy for social media that you're like, oh my God, she's so cool. Can we be best friends? Okay. Speaking of besties, let me introduce my new bestie. So I have Haley Westfall. Okay, so she's a former 20-year corporate healthcare leader turned growth strategist and community architect. Oh, I called her a community expert or a community building. A community architect is so much cooler. She is the founder of The Table and co-founder of Collab Culture. She equips entrepreneurs with tools and strategies to get where they want to go faster and more sustainably through high-functioning teams effective leadership strategies, and intentionally curated communities. In this second season of her career, she leverages her corporate background and strategic expertise combined with her superpower of bringing people together in purposeful and authentic ways to create compound growth for businesses in a scaling season. She has personally seen the impact that can come from just one aligned connection or conversation on your business and life, and loves to share that opportunity with the world. And she definitely does go into, like, I think that her love of people and remembering them and that connection is a superpower. And some of us may have it more naturally, but I do think that if you listen to that and you're like, oh, that's just not me, that's not who I am, I would say that I would put this on a list for 2026 as like a skill to start acquiring. I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast in a Delta flight. Thank you. Where she was talking about just even simply saying people's names and the power of it. And it reminded me to remind my staff that, like, one of the things, the culture of our clinic is we aim to stop whatever we're doing at the front desk and greet someone by name or say goodbye to them by name as they're leaving the clinic. Because people love hearing their name. And, when I talk to our doctors, I'm like, hey, make sure you are greeting people by name. Asking people also love hearing their children's name. And so asking, like, how is Johnny doing? Like, how did Johnny's soccer game go this weekend? It's really a psychological hack for connecting with people. They instantly feel like you care more. But so often we're just like, oh, it's not, I'm bad with names. And one of my stories is that I have partial facial blindness. So if you don't know this about me, I'm convinced this is actually true, though, because I will be watching a movie with Kirby, and midway through the movie, I'll be like, is that the main character? And he'll like turn to me and he'll be like, is that Edward Norton? Like, what? No, that's not him. That's a different guy. And I'm like, but they look similar, right? And he'll be like, I guess they're both like shapely white men with short brown hair. Like, oh, like, so Kirby's convinced this is a true thing. But what this means for all of you is this means if you meet me in real life, even if I've met you once before, I am so sorry. Facial blindness. I don't see it. I don't see it. I try so hard. It took me meeting his like aunts and uncles like 4 or 5 times before I could have picked them out of a lineup. Like, it's bad. But anyways, names, we don't have an excuse for. We can work on this. So put it on our vision board for 2026. All right, let's pray and get into it. Dear God, thank you so much for human to human connection. Hearing Haley talk about building communities, it is so much more than building profits and, gathering people together for the purpose of our financial benefit. Like, this is about truly pouring into someone's life and being of service to them and what they need, and figuring out how we can actually bring joy, love, just seeing someone, even just the power of making someone feel seen and not alone is such an undervalued superpower in this day and age where it's all about the trips and the money and like showing, like, it's not something you can show off online. It is truly something that can only be shown one-to-one. And sometimes that isn't a sexy, scalable thing. But God, I personally ask for you to grow this in me. I want every person that encounters me to feel happier after just having had a conversation with me. And so God, please build this in me and build this in anyone listening who also has that desire in their heart. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, folks, without further ado, here is my conversation with community architect. Such a cool name, Haley Westfall. Enjoy. Well, welcome to the podcast, Haley. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so I found you as I find most of my guests, which is through thorough stalking on
Yeah,
Instagram.
my
I feel,
favorite.
yeah, right. You're just like in the weeds, like, and then what really starts to happen when you're like, oh my gosh, is when two different people you stalk show up in the
Mm.
same event in Instagram store, and you're like, wait a minute. Now you like go into like full on detective mode of like, well, how do they know each other?
Yes, I love that. I love a cross-pollination moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you are, I think where I saw you was probably like online, but then like you started to get involved with like Barbara Streehands and things like that too, right? Like you were on her podcast.
Yep.
Okay. And then so you're both in Phoenix, like Scottsdale?
Yeah. So she splits time between here in Southern California and abroad. So she kind of goes all over. We actually met, this is just, cross-pollination moments. We met a couple of years ago because a friend of mine who is a tax client of hers, I was looking for a speaker for one of my in-person communities here in Phoenix on tax strategy. And this was like 3.5 years ago. And he's like, oh my gosh, like Barb is so great. You have to meet her. And so Crystal from her team ended up coming and teaching a workshop for us, and we kind of stayed connected. And then flash forward, another friend of mine who's a local community builder is really good friends with her. So we kind of connected more in like a personal setting beyond that. And she's amazing. And she's actually hosting her conference, her Minted Wealth Life conference here in Phoenix in November. So where what you probably saw is we're doing like a tandem event. So she has her wealth building conference and I am
Mm-hmm.
hosting a wellness event on the front end the day prior so people can really get physically, mentally, emotionally primed for being able to receive that content in the best way.
Love it. So, have you always been an event person? Like, events are insane. They are like, have you always liked throwing events?
I feel like I've always loved throwing events, even from back, like, theme parties back in the day when I was in my 20s. I'm like, I always loved like a good theme party with like a dress up moment, right? Having something that was very experiential. And then even into like my kids being born and birthday parties and things like that. But I spent almost 20 years, 19 and a half years in corporate healthcare before becoming an entrepreneur. So, there wasn't as much flexibility in that space to do those kinds of things. But yeah,
Hear me out.
definitely.
It's an 80s party.
Right. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Get your crimper.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's since becoming an entrepreneur, events have been honestly the cornerstone nucleus of both brands. I own two different companies, and both of them are very event centric. And so, yeah, for now, while it's aligned and I have the energy to do it, I'm all for it. And it's just in real life experiences are like chef's kiss. 12 out of 10 recommend.
Okay. So before we started recording, I kind of gave you a little background on the audience. So very few of our audience is likely going like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally planning on doing a 2 or 300 person event."
Mm-hmm.
Most of us are probably more focused on trying to build, because you're a community growth expert, like just trying to build a smaller, more personal community. And
Mm-hmm.
we throw an event, and we would be ecstatic if like 20 people came to this.
Yeah.
So, can you help break down? Like, so first of all, I guess the question is, have you encountered in your experience with throwing events that it's harder to get people to come to something now than it used to be?
Mm.
Or no,
So
that's just my
I,
issue.
I guess it depends, right? I think it depends on the format. Is it strictly social? Who are we selling to, right? Are you trying, if you're a healthcare provider, are you trying to get patients in the door? Is it other professionals where you're trying to do something that's collaborative with other people in the community that maybe serve in parallel the same demographic of people, but in a different way? Is it free? Is it paid? Right? There's all these factors that come into play. I am a strong believer that free things are far more difficult to get people to commit to. They may commit on the front end, but
Mm-hmm.
actually showing up, right, is a little bit more of a challenge. So let's do like a quick time travel. So I left healthcare. I was actually let go from my organization that I worked for. There was a bunch of us executives that were all laid off at once in a corporate layoff, and my first run of my business after actually that layoff and another one, which is a long story we can get into later, but the first iteration of my business was in social media management. One friend was like, "Hey, you're really articulate, good with words, creative, right? All of these things. Could you help me with my social?" And we get scrappy real quick, right? When we go from no money to, or a lot of
Yes.
money to no money, we're like,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes, I would love to help you with that. So I built my book of business the first 3 years strictly based on word of mouth referral. But I share that because my primary client base was healthcare providers, chiropractors, functional medicine, people in more of that like cash based private
Mm-hmm.
practice space. And this was a really interesting just way to serve those people, right? I understood the business, I understood the lingo, if you will, and all of those kinds of things. And we would see this a lot where they're like, I want to have a workshop or a patient
Right.
appreciation thing and get our patients in the door. And depending on, I mean, is your demographic moms? Are they people who have other life commitments outside of there where they're going to second guess showing up for something, especially if it's free? So again, long-winded way to answer your question, yes and no. It can be harder to get people to agree to something if it's not positioned correctly. And also, where I found the best bang for my buck with people's time, energy, and money is doing things in partnership with other professionals that are like a power partnership, right? That are serving people. Maybe you have a chiropractor, a doula, a midwife, pelvic PT, right? Having all these people that serve the same people, but in a different way, you're able to create this more robust, comprehensive experience where people are like, oh my gosh, I get all of that in one place. And there's
Mm-hmm.
value to be had. Like it's easier to get the commitment where they actually show up when you're more strategic about the way you're structuring it rather than just throwing something up and hoping for the best.
So, do you feel because like you do events and you grow communities,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming the events nurture your community,
Mm-hmm.
but I would imagine like that a lot of people don't necessarily even think about building a community. They just want like, well, I'm having an event and I want people to come to it. So does it kind of a putting the cart before the horse with your event versus like first you need to start building a community? And if so, like what does that look like?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest mistake that people make when building communities is they make it too much about them. Like if it's me, right? If you make it too much about you as the facilitator, that can only satiate people for so long. And so the way that we really get people bought in is actually turning them away from us and into each other. Right. So
Okay.
creating this common ground and this way for people to feel connected with one another. So yeah, to answer your question, anything that you can do to be able to provide, whether it's, it could be as easy as a Facebook group, right? Maybe it's a postpartum Facebook group where you're getting these people together. You're showing up as like the steward of like being the glue, right? The connective tissue of keeping these people together. But they have found really good support and feeling seen, feeling understood by a group of their peers and creating things like that. Then in tandem, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to go hang out with these people. I want to go see these people, right? They feel more connected to one another. I had a client back in my social media era, if you will. She was a chiropractor, primary or not primary, cash pay, private pay chiropractor. And her primary demographic is pregnant moms, postpartum, and little kiddos. And they had created this Facebook group that was essentially that, right? It was a support group, if you will. They had fun things like if people would refer other moms, they would have like different ways that they would celebrate those people, thanking them for the referrals within the group. They would do random things where
Refer to the practice or refer to like come into the
to
community.
the practice or inviting other people into the community, like they would welcome and like acknowledge like, hey, we grow better together, but only if it's aligned people, right? It's not just in numbers, it has to be the quality. So they would do that. They would put in like, hey, here's a like a barcode for like a digital
Mm-hmm.
Starbucks gift card, and be like, we're so grateful for you guys. Coffee on us today. Please be respectful, one per person. And they would throw $100 gift card in there for the day just to thank them for being there. So I think that there's different ways it can be done that do become an organic top of funnel for everything else that you're doing. But it's a way for you to serve that is more strategic, but also creating, again, that connective tissue that creates more sustainability for people to feel connected to you, even if they don't need you right at this moment. They still feel like they're a part of something bigger.
How, give me some of your best hacks for getting other community members to engage on other people's posts, because I
Mm.
feel like a lot of times, and I selfishly I do the exact same thing. Like there's a huge women chiropractic page that
Mm-hmm.
like I only use when I have a question, right? And so that I feel like facilitators of these communities, and I do want to hear if you have other places besides Facebook groups that you like, but
Mm-hmm.
like it
Yeah.
feels like as the facilitator, somebody will come on and be like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with like major postpartum depression. I want to give my baby away and move
Yeah.
to Bali. And you're like, is anybody gonna comment? Is anybody? And you're like, okay, well, I better do it. And it
Yeah.
really just like getting that other people to engage feels like a heavy lift sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, honestly, a lot of time, well, number one, people are lazy, like if we're being perfectly honest. And number
And
two, time is
selfish.
our right, and time
Yeah.
and time is our most fleeting resource. So I think the tools that we can provide people on the front end, whether that's empowering them to engage,
How do you do that?
one of the things that I will do is so use our community for other female entrepreneurs. For example, if somebody asks a question, I know I can answer it, but I also know there's a community member that could provide value to the conversation. I will tap that person in. Now, obviously, this isn't going to always work if you don't know people that well, but I will comment and, like, so and so, like, I know you dealt with this recently. What would you say? Right. And tag that person into the conversation. I think that opens the door for them to feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm valued. My voice is valued. Also, a really juicy onboarding process. So when people come into the group, having something that sets them up, it could be a drip sequence of emails, it could be a hub in your platform, which we can talk on the tech side, but having something when they come in, it's like an orientation hub with these little micro videos, think like sub 3 minutes. And it's like, hey, here's how to make the best use of your time. Like if you only had 5 minutes, what is the best way to make good use of your time in here, and do it with screen recordings so they can see like when you're going through actually modeling that behavior for them, and segmenting, which, full transparency, Facebook is not the best place for this particular format, but
Right.
having segmenting where you can have these like channels,
Yeah.
right? Where you can have, right, like independent things. So people aren't so overwhelmed, especially if it's a large group where they come in and they're like, oh my gosh, this is like, I don't have time. This is too much. Versus if it's channels, like I'll give you a specific example. When people come into our online community for my membership, one of the things I always tell them is if you have 5 minutes, and you want to be intentional about the way you serve. We have one channel that's specifically for intros. So when people are new, they post a picture of themselves. We give them like there's a pin post at the top that's like, hey, here's some things that could be helpful to share: your name, your business, right? All of these things. And so we give them that framework, and we say, go welcome the new people, right? Be a welcoming face for somebody new. And then secondly, we have a channel. It's literally like a white flag emoji, and it says send help. And so that's like if
I
people
like
need
that so
things.
much better than Q&A.
Right, right. Where if like if you need, there's like a group chat, there's other like channels, but if you need something that's either time sensitive, or, feels heavy, urgent, whatever, put it there. So I'm like, introduce or welcome the new people and go to the send help and scroll and see if you can help one person. Right. But people aren't going to know that. So it's like up to us to set that expectation and that framework for them of like, if you want to be memorable and you want to welcome people and you want to be a resource, this is the best way to do that. And so more explanation, a little more hand holding, and also a structure that's really supportive of the behavior that you're seeking from them.
Okay. How many channels is too many channels?
That is also a thing. I think if you can't give specific examples of what should go there, I think that it probably doesn't need its own channel, right? If there's not a value add, because it could be diluted too, right? If you have, say, 100 channels and you have one post in 50 of them, that is not helpful. So, if it's like, let's go back to the chiropractor example. One thing that might be beneficial for them is like, what are the primary things that people come to you for? Maybe it is kids with like any kind of like behavioral, whether it's like autism, ADHD, any of that kind of stuff. Maybe there's a channel for
Haley,
that.
you've done
Maybe
your homework. You do know you do know my people.
right? Maybe it's a channel for migraines. Maybe it's a channel, but right, like things that are, again, connective tissue, where people are going to feel like they understand the season that I'm going through. It's giving mild support group energy, right? Having something like that. Those are the kinds of things. There's not a one size, like this is the magic number is 10, right?
Right.
There's not a one size. I'm in
No more, no
plenty.
less. Yeah.
No, I'm in plenty of communities, and some of them, like as a patron, if you will, some of them have 3, some of them have 30. It
Mm-hmm.
just depends on what makes the most sense for functionality. And does this provide value for the participant? Yes or no? And if you're not sure, then start with less and see what people are talking about. And if you see topics that are repeating, make a channel for it.
Got
And
it.
also tell people, like, hey, you know what? This is obviously like something that is a heavy topic or like a hot topic in here. We're actually going to make a separate section specifically for that. And in the platform that we're in, which is called Circle,
I was gonna,
you
okay,
can
yeah.
you can actually reallocate people's posts. So one thing that in the beginning, if I make a new channel because I see that behavior happening, I will comment on their channel and say like, or on their post, and I'll say, hey, or our VA will do it. Like, hey, this is so great. We're actually going to make a channel just for this. I'm moving it to this. They're called spaces and circles. So like I'm moving it to this space. Make sure to post these there going forward. And then I can literally hit a button, send it to that space, and it will push the content into that channel. Now, not that I want to be doing that 24/7, but when it makes sense or when I see it, I will redirect people, because if we just fix it and we don't tell them, they're going to continue posting in the wrong space.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're doing this inside of Circle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how do I ask this question without being like, are people, so you said you're a patron in other like in other we talked about how we're very busy and we're very selfish. Like, are people really looking for more communities to be a part of right now?
So I think, again, it's up to us to control that messaging of what the value proposition is. So for me, this is great timing because I actually just did a purge on my paid offers that I was a part of, right? Things that I was investing in. Mind you, I also have 2 brands that are community based that I run. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot to consume. And so I did this exercise where I sat down and I put each of them, right, like along a piece of paper. I wrote all of them down. And then I wrote down, what is the differentiating factor, if you will? How frequently am I showing up? How much is it, right? I kind of did my diligence of like laying it out. And the ones that I kept, I could very, very specifically articulate. One of them is for female podcasters. One of them is for, it's called Productive CEO. So it's more for like systems, automations, back end organization, project management, things like that, right? Like I could articulate, okay, I'm a facilitator in these, but it is very, very distinctly clear to me the differentiating factor on the exact value in my life that this provides. So, to answer your question, if you're a healthcare provider, people are needing you for a reason, right? They're in a season of life, whether it's chronic or more of an acute issue, where they need you and you're providing value. And so, yes, I would argue that there is value that you can be providing them that they're not able to get anywhere else. Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming and paying for your service. And so, figuring out again, that is up to us as the professionals to ask the questions, to get curious and find out where are people not feeling supported. You know, they may be dealing with postpartum depression and nobody in their life can relate, or they're telling them that, you know, this is just normal and they need to get over it, right? Whatever those things are, they may feel entirely unsupported in their personal life, and you may be the only place that they're getting that support. So I think that there's a lot of different ways it can be helpful. I had another med spa actually that I did a proposal for recently. They did like Botox filler, you know, those kinds of like beauty services. And they were opening a second leg of their company that was an academy. So hyper local med spa, right? One specific demographic. Second tier is this academy, which is training other professionals from around the country. Well, these are high ticket services, right? Continuing ed services for these nurses. And they had no nurture platform to nurture these people. So you're bringing these people in and asking them to spend, I don't know, a 5-figure investment with them. But outside of social media, or if they're on your email list, you were going from 0 to 10K. There's
Right.
nothing, right? Nothing in between. And so the really interesting thing that we talked about is, how do we create a community that's paid, that people are invested in, doesn't have to be super high ticket, provide value for them to be able to network, learn with each other, you know, whatever, source questions amongst the group that builds trust, that shows us as the person that's bringing this value, so that then when the opportunity comes up to invest, we've already kind of edified ourselves and built that level of trust with them, even if it's, I don't know, $50 a month, but you're building and you're nurturing and it's more of a long game, that 10K conversion is going to be far easier than going from 0 to 5 figures instead.
You're right. So you kind of started talking into my next question, which is like breaking this down for people, where it's like, all right, so we kind of have this idea of starting a free community. Okay. And I guess, how do people, I would imagine that starting a community just because you want more new patients is
Mm-hmm.
probably not a good, like,
Right.
enough why.
No, not enough. You'll burn out and you'll stop doing it after 3 months.
Well, and people will be annoyed with it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so having a deeper why, like a problem that you're solving for people, like kind of when I'm talking to people, I'll say like, you need to be solving a problem for them. And then like chiropractors will be like, that's perfect. I do. I solve headaches.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no. If you're just building a community to solve your new patient problem,
Right.
that's the reverse of how we should be approaching this. So
Mm-hmm.
then so you got that. When when do you feel like, does it need to, it can just stay free forever? Like, where do people start to go, maybe I should be charging for this? And how does that like break into tiering?
Yeah, so I would say it really depends on who the target demographic is, right? Is the target demographic professionals? Is the target demographic patients? Is the target demographic moms? Like there's all these little niche specific buckets, if you will, that we have to consider. And does the paid offer make sense? If they're business owners, 99% of the time, the paid offer makes sense, right? If they're moms that are not necessarily using this group for, say, professional development of any kind, it's truly like a 50-50. So it kind of just depends, again, on what people are wanting and needing. So one of the pieces of kind of logic that we used when we started building out our membership was, Connection could be free, but education could be paid. So maybe it's a tiered system, right? Where it's like, hey, we're going to do a social once a quarter, or that's exclusive to our community members, or we're going to like a pop up, little happy hour or a little coffee thing or whatever. Something to be able to get people together, or even if it's on virtual, right? Like a virtual call to be able to get people face to face with each other. But if they wanted education, they wanted workshops or things that were a little bit more comprehensive, then maybe that is paid. And that could be a paid tier. It could also be an a la carte paid offer, but exclusivity for people that are already a part of the membership. You want it to feel like the accessibility comes from the commitment of them being a part of this thing. So looking at, does that make sense to be able to serve them in a different way that isn't taking away from your paid services by providing something in lieu of it for free? And so I think it's really interesting when we look at some of these professional services where you're providing clinical care in some capacity to this, say, subset of people, is how are we serving them in a way that is creating an ROI, right? A direct
Right.
ROI to our bottom line. And I think the thing that's overlooked so much is chasing new patients is great, right? You need new patients, you need them in your pipeline, but nurturing the people who have already experienced your magic should be your ultimate top priority. Because number one, it will keep them not even hesitating to come back when they need you, right? If it's a service that kind of ebbs and flows, but also they're the first person to speak your name in rooms you're not in, right? When their friend or their sister or their whoever is like, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling with, and they're like, I got you, like, I got your person. And so that is going to be a no brainer for whoever they're referring to you, because they're being referred by someone that they trust. And so you get to skip, the what do I want to say, like the dating phase with these new patients,
Right,
right?
right.
You get to like put a ring on it right away because these people are already speaking so highly on your behalf. And this is the logic still applies in business, right? Same thing for me. 99% of my clients, my consulting clients, event attendees, all of those things are word of mouth from somebody else, because I'm so committed to nurturing relationships with the people that are in my circle that they're screaming my name from the rooftops whenever they can. So I think that that's what's overlooked, is like, it's not, building the community doesn't just have to be a feel good moment. Like, it should be strategic. Otherwise, you're going to be quick to abandon it, but also understanding it is a long game of like creating this nurturing environment that you can pour into really, really intentionally, because those are going to be the people that are going to be like your absolute gold for the growth of your business.
Okay, so when you say growing it strategically, can
Mm-hmm.
you give some more? Because I do think a lot of people are just like, we need a local moms group. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start one. I want to be the first, I want,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. And there isn't strategy to that. So like
Mm-hmm.
what kind of strategy are you talking about when you say that?
Yeah. So ultra basic place to start is like the 5 W's: who, what,
Oh,
when, where, why.
okay. It was
Right.
like good. I love a good love a good
Right.
acronym.
Like who, what, when, where, why. Like, who is this for? What are we providing them? When? What is the cadence? Where will it be? Right? Online, in person, whatever that's going to look like. And most importantly is the why. Because if we're creating, let's use the moms group example, we're creating a moms group, we have to very, very intimately understand the target demographic. When we say a moms group, is it moms of newborns? Is it moms of toddlers? Is it moms of school age kids? Is it empty nesters? Is it everything? What are we providing them? And also understanding that moms, number one objection to participating in, quite frankly, anything is going to be, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have time. And so I think there's a book, if you're listening to this and you're like, I want something juicy that I can like dig my teeth into that is really, really tactical. There's a book that's called Retention Point. It's by Robert Skrob, Skrob. It's on Amazon for like $9. White book, red letters. I've literally read it like 6 times. And it's all about memberships and subscriptions. And he talks in the book about this tipping point where psychologically, if we provide too much value for either free or a dollar amount, if we're providing too much value that people aren't actually able to take part in, then psychologically it actually works in reverse, because now we're thinking, especially if it's paid, we're thinking, oh, well, I'm leaving so much on the table, right? It's like counterintuitive. I'm leaving so much
Mm-hmm.
on the table. I'm not like fully taking advantage, when in all reality, you could provide half of the deliverables for the same price. But if it's really aligned and people are able to consume it, and being able to associate the, sacrifice, if you will, of their time to be able to translate in the value it's creating, then they're smitten and they're going to stay forever. And you're doing half the work. So that's really, really important, is getting into this who, what, when, where, why. When I start, so Collab Culture is one of our communities here in Arizona. It's a hyper local community for female founders. I have a business partner. We launched it about 4 years ago. And when we launched it, we sat down. Now, for context, both of us have other companies. Both of us have multiple children and a spouse, right? So we've got layers of like time. And we said from the get go, free is never an option for us, right? Free was not an option, because I did not want anything that would create any kind of resentment for the amount of time that I was spending, and knowing our target demographic was business owners. And I was going to show up in a completely different capacity if they were in turn showing up by putting dollars on the line. So that was a hard, firm boundary from the very beginning when we did this 5 W's exercise of sitting down and saying, hey, we want to serve and we want to create this ecosystem, but also we need to be paid. So that's not going to be the case. I have plenty of friends that have communities that are free, but I think getting really clear on, if you're going to create a mom's group, why? I don't know about you. I try to keep off of Facebook, honestly, because I just feel like it's very soul
Yes. Like, how do you
sucking.
not turn it into a bitch session?
100%. The moms groups are so negative. They're so negative. They're so toxic. People are just in there complaining and fighting with each other. And it's like, that's not the energy I want to be in. Right. So it's like, if I'm going to be in a mom's group, what if it was like hyper specific, right? It was a mom's group for postpartum depression. It was a mom's group for moms of toddlers. It was a mom's group for moms and wellness, right? Moms that are trying to find a way to be able to balance taking care of themselves while taking care of their family. That to me, with specific purpose, is far more desirable, even free, than like, Phoenix Moms Club, whatever. And you get in there and people are just anonymously posting about their husband cheating on them and just like complaining about God knows what. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say from a tactical perspective, number one, reading that book, but number two, doing that exercise of understanding that why makes the strategy a lot more clear. Because if it's patients, right? If it's other patients, would it make sense to create a community offer that is co-hosted, if you will? Like going back to the example I had before, where it's the chiropractor. Unless you offer this in your practice, then you could obviously do it internally. But like the chiro, the midwife, the pelvic PT, the doula, right? All of these people, and you're able to say like, hey, we're creating this. I'm going to use the word collective, if you will, right? Where we're going to support you in all of these different arenas with this really comprehensive ecosystem. And everybody wins because everybody serves them in a different way. And you're able to share the load, if you will, of co-facilitating this group. So there's 101 different ways that you could do it. But I think if you don't understand the purpose of why you're creating it, then there is no strategy, because you don't even know what you're trying to nurture people into.
Got it. So in your in-person stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
you would kind of mention like you do a couple meetups. Like what is your, just talk about,
Mhm.
what's your name of your collab,
So
Phoenix?
there's yeah, so there's two companies. So Collab Culture Phoenix is our like flagship chapter of the Collab Culture brand. We also have a second chapter up in Northern Arizona in Flagstaff that we expanded into about a year ago. One of our OG members from Phoenix was relocating with her family. She is a estate and trust planning attorney and was like very sad. It was like bittersweet, right? Where she's like, I'm moving, but like I finally have created my community here and now I'm leaving. And she jokingly at a coffee meetup was like, if only I could take you with me. And we were laughing and we're like, well, you can. And it was kind of just a funny thing. And then serendipitously, it ended up aligning because she saw the power it could create, right? She's an attorney. She doesn't need, she doesn't need it to pay her mortgage. It's not like she needed this like desperate additional income stream, but she was like, how do I serve and create instant community in a city that I've never lived in before? And also strategic referral partnerships from people that she's able to serve in a way indirectly that will then trust her. They know what she does. And she's going to be front of mind because she's in their purview all the time, right? Weekly, talking about stuff, serving them in all those different ways. So the collab culture is a very, I would say, traditional membership model.
Okay.
So the way we have it set up, it's a monthly recurring membership. Our target demographic is hyper-local female entrepreneurs and professionals. So this could be business owners. We have a couple people who are either in like, they work for someone else, but they're like primarily commission based. So think like real estate agents, title companies, VPs in banking, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so our signature membership, it's a monthly membership. So once you sign up every month, your membership drafts, your dues draft. And so we have our signature tier, which includes 4 opportunities to meet per month. We say it that way because of the retention point book,
Yep.
right? Because we're like, this is an opportunity, not an obligation. You
Right.
want to come to one, you want to come to all 4, you want to come to 2, you want to choose your own adventure. And we actually modified our format in 2022 when we launched. We did workshops, exclusively workshops every single week. And we did that for about 10 months. With
Well,
January, we launched. We did it every week. 4 or 3 of them were virtual, one was in person. And when we surveyed people in the fall, and we're like, how are you guys liking it? How's it going? Our retention was great. We're like, oh, we're just going to ask. And they're like, we're not actually implementing anything because we're learning something new every week. We don't have time. And I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. And they're like, it's
yeah.
great. Don't get me wrong. We're like, well, what would you like instead? They're like, we actually just want to hang out more. And it was like, okay, I mean, please hang out anytime
Right.
you would like.
You're
And they're
like,
like,
but you're
no,
paying.
right. But they're like, no, like structured. And we're like, oh, this is interesting. So our model changed to what it is now, which is 4 opportunities to meet per month. 2 are online, 2 are in person. So we have a virtual networking call the first week of the month. That is exactly how it sounds. Everybody
Like
comes
a
on.
BNI group
Well, we don't say the B
without.
word, but
Oh,
yes,
okay. Sorry.
way
Well,
better.
that's what my head is thinking is like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like how women t- got rid of being like what women
Yes.
replaced
Yes.
BNI
Yes.
groups with.
So we don't particularly limit. So that's a big thing about
Right.
BNI,
That's a
right?
big,
They are
yeah.
like one person per industry. And we are
Yeah.
actually a firm believer of the opposite. So the
Yep.
virtual networking is very fun. We're like, come in your pajamas, come with no bra on, come with your kid on your lap. Like I literally don't care. Just
Mhm.
come. Like come and turn your camera on. So everybody gets to go around and do an intro. It's a great opportunity for them to work on refining their, kind of like punchy, more concise. Let's work on dialing in the way you're introducing yourself so you're super confident, you're articulate, people actually know what you do. So we do that, go around, and then we do breakout rooms. So we give them a
Mm.
prompt. This works really well in communities that are niche on the personal side, right? So if you have these moms groups or you have these whatever, wellness, whatever these groups are that people are
Yeah.
in, breakout rooms are nice because you give them a prompt. And then in Zoom, you just say, I want to make breakout rooms. I want them to have, I don't know, 4 people per room. And then it will randomize it, but it takes this like overarching, overwhelming, larger space and shrinks it and gives them a space that feels, for lack of a better term, safe, more intimate for them to be able to have a conversation based on the prompt that you provided. So we do that usually about 2 rounds, depending on how long it takes us to get through the intros. We shuffle the groups. So we do 1 round, bring them back, different question, new round. So that's meeting 1. Meeting 2 is a coffee and connections meetup, literally local coffee shops. Here's the locations. Because we've built that culture where they feel really connected to each other. That is literally it. Half the time we may not even be there. They know in the platform who's going to each location because they RSVP, right? They know who to expect, who to look for, and they just meet up and have coffee. They work, co-work, they chit chat, they do whatever. That's week 2. Week 3 is a virtual workshop where we bring an expert in to do a workshop on Zoom. It's an hour. And then the 4th week of the month is our in-person member meeting, which is like a hybrid. So we do some round tables. So it's essentially the breakout rooms, but in person. So we do some housekeeping, welcome people, and then we give them a prompt. They introduce themselves and follow the prompt with their table.
Can you give an example of like what a prompt would be?
Yeah. So for example, our speaker last week was on trust. So it was called the trust reset. And it was really how to build trust with your ideal client in an uncertain world, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of hesitation, economy, all of these things that come into the mix. So the prompt could be, hey, at your table, I want you to take 30 seconds, go ahead and introduce yourself to your table, let them know where to connect with you online. And then I want you to talk about the number one objection that you may get when on sales calls or speaking to your ideal client and how you build trust with them to overcome that objection, right? And maybe we give them like 3 minutes each. It's not like a full blown, it's intended to be small, but get their juices going so that way when the speaker comes in, they're kind of like already engaged, they're already thinking, they're listening to what other people are saying, and then the speaker comes in and educates on that topic. So that's really helpful. And then they get those things, opportunities. They get an online community and circle. And then they get listings on our website directory for their business. So on our collabculture.co website, we have a member directory. If you click it, it has all of the members in our directory that are randomized, but then you can go up and filter by industry. So say it was health professionals, right? That's anybody that's licensed. You could go health professionals and it will just filter out the licensed professionals, which is a huge perk because our website gets a ton of traffic. And so if people are looking from someone, it's really, really easy to navigate. So it's a very structured model, but it's very predictable. Like people know what to expect. It repeats every month. The topics change, obviously, but it's very like well-oiled machine. And we do like an annual retreat, which is like a separate a la carte offer. But like I was saying before, it's only available to our members. So even though it is paid, the accessibility piece is in order to go to this, dare I say, exclusive, if you will, retreat, right? That's small, maybe 15 people. You have to be a part of this membership, which currently has about, we'll say like 140 people, right, in order to be able to attend. So that's the model for that versus, the table, which is my like primary personal brand, looks a little bit different. And I say that because I think a lot of people want this one size fits all model. And it's like, no, the beauty is you can actually create whatever the hell you want. You just have to understand what that is and also be willing to do the work to get curious and ask the questions, because people will serve it up on a silver platter if you ask the right questions instead of just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks.
So the table, is that all online?
So the table was, I said before that I had a social media company.
Yeah.
I built and scaled that for 3 years. About 3 years in, simultaneously, Collab Culture had launched about 2 years into me owning the social media company. And I had this aha moment where I was like, this is really interesting because collab is serving me in a completely different way. And also, I've now built and scaled this business strictly based on a community that I had been nurturing in my personal life, unbeknownst to me for years and years, right? The
Right.
people that I was now serving were entrepreneurs. I worked in corporate healthcare. Like I
Right.
never quote needed them in that way, but I had created this muscle memory where in every aspect of my life, I was looking to serve first. And so when I needed something, these people are just like coming out of the woodwork where like, hey, we want to support you because you're always supporting everybody else. And so about 3 years into growing that business, I had this aha moment and I was like, I actually don't even like social media. And I was like, I'm going to collapse the agency. And my husband was like, I'm so sorry. What? Sorry. And I was like, no, no, it served its purpose. Like it was amazing, but I'm like, it was never for me, right? It was chosen for
Mhm.
me like in a season of desperation or like, just
Right.
honestly like scrappiness of trying to figure it out. And I'm like, I did it once, I can do it again. And so I did that. I offboarded all my clients, collapsed it, and then started the table about 2 years ago. And really have been conscious of this like slow grow of figuring out what that looks like. So under that brand, I do coaching and consulting on, we call them community focused brands. So working with CEOs that are usually have a small team, maybe like 10 or less people. They're still a little bit too much in the trenches. They really need to optimize a high performing team, effective leadership strategies, and really creating these aligned partnerships to be able to scale. I have a master's degree in leadership, and this is literally what I did in corporate. So it's like,
Right.
second nature to me. So I do the coaching and consulting through that leg. I do all my events are like pop up, like a la carte, so you don't have to be in a membership to be able to attend. My stuff is also co-ed, which is different.
Yeah.
Still for entrepreneurs. The pop up series is about once a month. We do a different theme. And it's really calling in people that have the same values, people that would be an ideal one on one client for me that I would want to work with based on different kinds of demographics of interests, values, things of that nature. So, like that wellness event with Barb,
Yep.
like that was perfect. We called it Healthy and Wealthy. And the tagline was because richness isn't just found in your bank account,
Right.
right? So, it's like healthy in life, healthy in wealth, healthy in family, relationships, all of these things, or wealthy rather. So pop-up series, 2-day conference, anti-conference. It's way better than a conference, 2-day live event in February. I have a podcast through that brand, a digital product shop, and then we are actually in the process of launching a virtual membership that will be co-ed that will be launching before the end of the year. But I wanted to be really thoughtful about observing what are people liking? What are people not liking? Where can I fill a gap? And so I feel really thankful that I waited to create more of like a membership offer until now, because the culture is now so strong. Like people who come to my events, once they come to one, they're usually frequent flyers, especially if they're local, right?
Right.
Some people travel, some people will fly in for them. But once they come once, they're pretty like ride or die.
How come? Like, what do
And
you think makes your events so sticky?
they're so sticky. Number one, because everybody feels personally connected to me because I am connective tissue. Like I am the person that in every single thing that I do, I'm looking for ways to serve. So I'm looking to connect them with somebody that they may need or somebody that could provide value to them or helping and pointing them in a direction of a resource that I think could be really beneficial for them, whether it's personally or professionally. I'm a absolute psycho of tracking like really obscure details about people that make it feel so personal, right? So if it's like, I don't know, say they're like a hardcore 49ers fan. That's
Right.
like a random example, but like I have like a back end CRM where I track like all of my people and I will put like obscure items in there, right? Like things like that, or things like I have a really good friend. She's like a hot black coffee 24/7. And I'm like iced lattes. And we always laugh because we're in Arizona. It's so hot. And I'm like,
Yeah. Who's drinking hot? Yeah.
you're an actual sociopath for drinking hot black coffee in July. Like, absolutely not. So if I see, right, like if I see people, like I know that about her. So if it comes up with somebody else or somebody's team iced only, those are the little things. And I think that's not going to come second nature for a lot of people. I have like a steel trap memory, but I
Mhm.
also have a tool to be able to keep that stuff on hand. And I do believe writing it down, typing it, having it somewhere visual, like locks it into your brain.
Okay, so you're not storing that in Circle. I actually don't know what
No.
Circle. I've heard of Circle many
Mm-hmm.
times,
Yeah.
and like, I'm assuming it's better than Slack because
So I say Circle is as if Slack and Facebook groups had a baby and it was like
oh,
the best of both worlds. So think more aesthetic, more user friendly. The app is super super robust and like very very intuitive to be able to navigate. You can do gamification in there, kind of like the School platform is another popular one, but School it was definitely built by a man because it's not near as aesthetically
yeah,
pleasing but functional.
uh-huh.
And so the big thing that people like about School, especially if you have a free community, is their search platform where people can come in and look for communities. I would say is more robust as far as I know, at least. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me because all of our platform is hyper local and it's like very specific. So I don't really care about the searchability. But yes, channels, everybody can have a profile of their own. You can do direct messaging through it. It's searchable, which is really nice. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can type in, I don't know, somebody's looking for a divorce lawyer, and you can literally type in divorce in the search bar and it will pull
Pull up
any
every
posts.
conversation.
Yeah. So I really like it. No, I don't. I keep all of my personal contact stuff in Notion.
Okay. Ugh.
Um,
Which is
yeah,
its own beast. Oh
it's a
my gosh.
beast. It's a beast. But I think Google Sheets, a
hmm
freaking paper phone book. Like, I don't care what you keep it in, it should be somewhere you're going to use it consistently. If you're not going to use it consistently, no tech tool will save you.
Right.
So it really has to be somewhere intentional that you use every day, or you're not going to be resistant around using.
Mhm.
But the interesting thing with the conference is that we had a 100% show up rate, which is like not
Wow.
non-existent, does not
Yeah.
happen. We had 73% of our attendees filled out a feedback form, which is also like 3 times the normal. And everybody just culturally, it's just so intentionally designed for, again, turning people in towards each other. So when I say I'm the connective tissue, that might sound counterintuitive because I just said earlier, it's not about you, but it's about me in the way that I am the glue, right?
hmm
So I am constantly turning them in towards each other. I am constantly that resource to be able to provide value in that way. So people feel a more personal connection to me in that
hmm
capacity. And so now that I have that, right, this like really strong, energetic connection with people, now launching the membership is a no brainer, right?
Right.
Because they already know, they've experienced the magic, they know what it's like. They could speak to it if somebody asked them with no notice, right? They could speak to why they like the events,
Yep.
why they, what value I bring to the table, pun intended, what they, think about the experience or why it's different. Like they can articulate all of that without any prompting,
Right.
which is like, that's the goal, right? That's the end goal.
hmm Oh my gosh. So I feel like everybody listening, hope that they see the amount of effort because to circle back to the question is like, are people looking for another thing?
Yeah.
A well done thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's looking for another. We're just keep ragging on moms, but we're both moms. And I think
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is our person. Nobody's looking for another shitty Facebook group where,
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
so no, they're not looking for that. What experience are you going to create in this
Mm-hmm.
community for people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And creating, so like I can see why you said like I have no interest in doing this for free, because it's like, damn, this is I mean, this is a legit job. Like,
Yeah.
so
Right.
yeah, I guess I would just tell anybody listening to like really don't jump into something
Hmm.
that you're going to abandon a couple months
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, and specificity is powerful. I think a lot of times
Mhm.
people think, well, it's too specific. Like I'm quote selling myself short, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh my God.
no,
To talk
you
people
actually,
into niching down all the time. I'm like, it's not a
yeah. I
niche.
was like,
It's not a niche.
yeah. Well, you just collapse time where you don't give people to second guess if it's for them because it's so
Mhm.
specific, right? Where you're just like, oh, like we have a girl in our community where she's like, I am a life coach for ADHD moms, right? That is speaking to a completely different subset, very, very specifically, than somebody who's like, oh, well, I help moms, I don't know, feel like less of a mess.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what does that
But
mean?
but
Like,
right, right. And so I think the specificity is huge, and also understanding again what is the end game? Is the end game to just build trust and serve it a different way? Is the end game clients? Is the end game referral partners? Right? I've seen a lot of people do that too. We had a group here that created this like I don't remember what it was called, but I'm going to say it's like a motherhood collective, right? So it was healthcare professionals. It was a community, healthcare professionals that served in the birth space. So all
mhm.
of those people that I was talking about before, and they just simply did, they had an online somewhere where they connected, and then they did like a once a month coffee shop meetup.
Yeah.
And they would just meet and they would talk about, even if there's not like a speaker, they would talk about what they're seeing with patients, what kind of feedback they're getting, what's working, what's not working. It was very collaborative. And for them, that was more beneficial than bringing their patients together because their patients have newborns. They don't have freaking time to go anywhere,
Right.
right? But instead of being like, hey, how can we come together with other people that are already serving our same people that are going to say our names in the rooms that we're not in and give first, provide value, bring value to the conversation. So that way it's a no brainer when somebody's looking instead of just showing up and throwing your business card at everybody and hoping for the best. That is not the vibe. That is not what we
That's
want.
it's not the vibe,
Um,
no.
so
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay. So last question, where can people, like, you have a membership coming?
Mm-hmm.
Where can people just get more of you into their life?
Yeah, I hang out mostly on the gram. So if you're a social media, person and that's what you like, Instagram, it's just the like Haley, Haley, Westfall, West like the direction, fall like fall down, no P. It's not fancy. We're basic around here.
I'm so
Um,
jealous of people who have simple last names.
right. I hang out there. I am trying to revive my LinkedIn. It's one of those things where
Oh
it's
my,
like, I
I had a
mean,
guy on a couple of months ago. I've never used LinkedIn. Okay. And so he's
mhm,
like teaching me about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is intense, or at least he was
yes.
intense. And I was like,
Yeah.
and it was so funny as a woman too, because he read my phone number on air. He's like, I'm looking up your LinkedIn right now and like all this stuff. And like, and he's like, you have it public. Like, why would you have it out there if you don't want somebody to call you? And I was like, oh my
Oh
God, I need
boy.
to get rid of my LinkedIn
Oh
account.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. LinkedIn is, I mean, again, we just talked about serving in a different purpose, like in a
Right.
different way. And it actually is a really powerful tool because although there's a lot of users on there, the number of users that are actually active is so low. Like it's like under 3%. I don't know, it's like insanely low. So visibility wise, it's great. But I would say Instagram is the best place. I do have a podcast called The Table as well. I'm working on a couple mini series, which will be really fun. These little micro episodes on all things events, on all things building out a membership that will be really juicy, like sub 10-minute episodes, which will be really fun solos. And then my website, if you're an events person, like I said, majority of them are co-ed. I usually do about 2 a year that are female only because like one's for International Women's Day. So that feels like
Yeah.
it should be aligned. And then I do one in August on the front end of the Powerhouse Women event. which is very intentionally, again, strategic and aligned to serve in a way as people go into a room of 600 to 800 people to be able to serve in a more intimate capacity and set them up for success. But outside of that, they're pretty much all co-ed, and they can be found on my website over at HaleyWestfall.com/events.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll have and you have an event in February coming up.
Yes. So
Okay.
yes, the anti-conference. It's called the Table Experience. So it's a 2-day live event, February 20th and 21st. Think very tactical education, workshops, hot seats. It's very like application based. We're getting things moving in real time. Breakout sessions where you get to choose your own adventure and pre-book into these very intimate expert roundtables, like 5 or 6 people, and just strictly ask questions for 45 minutes, which is amazing. Curated networking. It's so intentionally designed and like the best 2 days of your life. So if you go to the website, you'll see up at the top TTE 2026. We'll have the landing page with some videos from this year, and you can check out more info there.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much. We will have those links below. Haley, I really hope that like sometime over the next 6 to 9 months, I get it to be in an event, either just that you've put on. I mean, your events sound pretty cool. So kind of want to come to one of your actual events, but one that maybe you're
Yeah.
not stressed out in hosting as well.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. She Slayers, make sure that you check out those links below. Go give her a follow on Instagram, because I'm assuming you're a millennial like me, and that's where we hang out. We're very active in our DMs. It's
So
where we like to live. So until next week, She Slayers. Bye.